In the ancient world, the Aegean Sea was not a peaceful passage, but a vast expanse of mystery and danger. Towering waves, unpredictable currents, and the twinkling stars in the night sky were seen merely as signs from the gods. The Ionians, who lived in port cities like Miletus and Samos, had to dare challenge that uncertainty. Yet among the merchants, one man began to see the sea differently. He was not just a sailor, but an observer of the skies. His name was Thales. To the people, he might have been nothing more than an olive oil trader sailing in search of new markets. But when night fell and the sails unfurled, Thales would stand at the ship's prow, gazing at the constellations as though the sky itself were a secret map. He began to trace patterns. Constellations were not myths, but guides. And from here arose a great question. Was it Thales who first taught the Greeks how to navigate the seas by the stars? Miletus, a small city on the coast of Asia Minor, was a hub of trade and culture. Ships from Phoenicia, Egypt, and the Greek islands docked there, bringing textiles, spices, and metals. In its bustling markets, Thales heard tales of distant voyages, boundless seas, strange stars in the southern sky, and golden trade routes across the waters. But these stories were always wrapped in myth. Sea monsters, storm gods, and stars thought to be the souls of ancestors. Thales listened intently, yet he was unsatisfied. To him, stories without proof were only fables. He wanted to test them himself, to sail and to search for patterns that were real. So when the chance came to join a merchant ship bound for Egypt, he did not hesitate. Within him, greater than the desire for profit, burned an unquenchable curiosity. On his first night at sea, Thales gazed at the stars longer than anyone else. The crew thought he was praying to the gods, but instead he was calculating. He noticed that certain constellations always appeared from the same direction when the ship moved. A bright star called Phoenike by Phoenician sailors, what we now call the North Star, remained fixed in place. From this, Thales had an idea. If that star were used as a marker, then a ship could avoid losing its way even far from land. He began teaching the crew. Look to the sky, not only to the waves. At first they laughed at him, but when the storm subsided and the ship returned to its course, they began to believe. The seeds of Greek star navigation had been planted. Before Thales, the Phoenicians were already renowned as master sailors. They dared to travel far west across the Mediterranean, even, it is said, circumnavigating Africa. Yet their secrets were closely guarded, never shared with other nations. Thales, driven by sharp curiosity, sought to unlock these mysteries. He questioned Phoenician traders, watched their sailing routes, and studied their habit of gazing at the night sky. He realized something crucial. The key to seafaring was not just the strength of the ship, but the ability to read the stars. Thales did not invent navigation from nothing, but he was the first to bring that secret into the Greek world, transforming it into knowledge, not just a hidden craft of foreign merchants. After weeks at sea, Thales finally set foot in Egypt. The Nile spread wide, the pyramids loomed high, and Egyptian priests were famed as masters of the stars. From them, Thales learned that the positions of stars could be used to determine the season of floods, when to plant grain, and even when the river would rise. For Thales, this was a scientific revelation. The stars were not mystical signs, but a cosmic clock. And he asked himself, if the stars can guide the fields, why can they not guide ships? This was a turning point. Agricultural knowledge from Egypt was transformed by Thales into maritime knowledge for his people. Thales returned to Miletus with his mind full of notes. He carried back not only oil, cloth, and spices, but a new idea, star-based navigation. At the harbor, he began teaching young sailors. Do not just memorize routes, he said. Look at the sky, find the patterns. At first, they were confused. But when Thales proved that the route to the island of Samos could be found simply by following certain stars, they fell silent. Slowly, a new way of thinking emerged in Ionia. The sea could be mastered with knowledge, not merely with courage. Though Thales' ideas drew attention, many also doubted him. Some priests declared, the stars belong to the gods, not to man. Old merchants mocked him. Will you trade with stars instead of ships? But Thales did not falter. He believed that if men dared rely on logic, the fearful sea could become a friend. He began gathering young students eager for knowledge. They learned to record the rising and setting of stars, to measure distance by the position of the moon, and to test their theories in open waters. With this determination, the science of navigation began to take root in Greek soil. Thanks to Thales' methods, Ionian sailors grew bolder in crossing the seas. The islands of the Aegean became more accessible, routes to Asia Minor safer, and trade with Egypt smoother. Gradually, Greece, once a collection of small city-states, began to form a strong maritime network. At the heart of this transformation was a simple idea: the stars as maps. From here arose the Greek spirit of exploration, which would one day produce colonies, wide-reaching trade, and a culture that spread across the Mediterranean. For Thales, navigation was not only about commerce. He saw that if nature could be understood through logic, then the whole world could be explained. Stars, seas, and seasons all followed certain laws. From this insight grew the seeds of natural philosophy, the belief that the universe could be understood by the human mind, not merely by myth. Navigation was just the doorway. Beyond it, Thales was paving the way for a rational worldview that would shape Western civilization. Now, thousands of years later, we still use the stars to know our place in the universe, only now through telescopes, satellites, and GPS. Yet the first step was taken by Thales of Miletus, a humble merchant who dared believe that the sky could be read, the sea tamed, and knowledge could replace myth. And so the question endures: was Thales the true pioneer of Greek seafaring? History may not record the answer in detail, but one thing is certain: without his courage to read the heavens, Greek maritime civilization might never have been born.